Warm greetings and welcome to Metaphysical Awakenings with Barbara
and Eric.
Today is a very special episode. It is Season 2, Episode 18, and it's titled The Resurrection.
What is a resurrection? What does that word mean to you spiritually?
When I think about it, I think of death and then coming into life.
Okay. So kind of a death into the rebirth of something a little bit different, maybe?
It would have to be, I would imagine, because with a death, you are leaving behind pretty much everything.
Right. I am the way and the truth and the light is what the Bible told us. And by following those words, we as human beings, and this is my opinion, you can take it or leave it, take what you want, leave the rest. But I've worked in churches my whole life, and a resurrection to me, as taught by my guides, and Jesus being one of them, is a death or an ending must occur before a new beginning can begin. So a celebration of a resurrection, and I might just do this, would be for me, would be a gathering of people putting a line in the sand and leaving behind that which no longer works for you. You no longer want to deal with, you want to get rid of, you want to change, whatever the case may be. And you leave that behind, you step over the line to become transformed into who and what it is you're seeking. We can't grow unless we let go of things that we no longer need or that are weighing us down. A resurrection is just a beautiful gift that Jesus taught us again and again in our lives. We celebrate it every year. Why do we celebrate it every year? Well, how about every year we get a brand new beginning at Easter time? Otherwise, we'll have to wait until we cross over to know, do we get resurrected? What is resurrection? I don't pretend to know all the answers, but this is one answer I feel very, very strongly about. While we are on the earth plane, we are responsible for how we feel, how we act, what we do, and by taking the reins or, taking responsibility for self, we can create transformation at any time. And that is what Easter does for me.
Wow. So resurrection, a lot of times when we think of it in terms of the physical, it is death as in actual death of the body, and then the body coming back, or with the soul coming back. But in terms of a metaphysical standpoint, resurrection can happen within a lifetime.
Oh, several times. Every time you grow, you're having another resurrection. You're leaving behind, and sometimes making decisions are very, very difficult because, let's face it, human beings don't like change. We get comfortable. My car is, I hate to tell you this, but my Yukon is 16 years old because I love it so much. I put a new engine in, I put new trans. I don't want a new car. I'm so happy and comfortable in that. But that's just a silly example. On the other hand, if I want to grow and be more and do more things with my life, I have to make the decisions to cut out things that no longer serve me or suit me or make me happy. Now I've got the time, I've got the opportunity, and I am ready for that new resurrecting growth, that rebirth of me in my spirit expanding into the universe.
Absolutely. I can kind of resonate with you as far as the old car. I still have the Honda that's, I guess, now 18 years old, and I put a new engine in it also. So just
there you
sometimes
go.
I love it, but does it serve me the best? Well, I ended up getting now that's more my sidecar. It served me the way it can. I guess I haven't totally given it up, but it's
neither have I. So.
Yeah, okay, but if I remember correctly, you also have another vehicle now.
Right, we did. We had a Jeep that it got totaled. Well, that's a whole nother Oprah show, and we had to get a new vehicle. So, with the things that I do with Spirit Fest, my next Spirit Fest is actually in Memphis, Tennessee. So, my husband being I love you, honey, but he's kind of like an old mother duck. He worries all of the time. And so I will be taking his vehicle to drive out of town when mine is perfectly fine. But,
That just means he cares for you.
Oh, of course. I absolutely, there is no question whatsoever. He's my dude.
Oh.
Yeah. But, at the end of the day, being responsible for us doesn't always pop up. It's not a thought process that we have all of the time. And going into Easter, when I was a little girl, now this is what we can talk about, is what we used to do and know.
Mm-hmm.
In the Presbyterian faith, what Easter meant to me when I was little was my mom would be the person who would volunteer to fill up the little cups with the grape juice. All right. And she'd fill them up at the house and put them in the car and drive very carefully. And she'd also cube up all of the bread. We didn't have the biscuits like Catholics. We would take a little piece of bread. And so she would be cutting, all of this bread up and put it in baggies. And I would be sitting there watching her. And when she turned her head, I'd take a handful and I'd eat it. And she'd go, I thought that bag was almost full. And she'd have to go get more bread. And, those are my happy childhood memories of going to, Maundy or Holy Thursday, the reenactment of the Last Supper, so to speak. But you grow up, you grow out of the Easter Bunny, you grow out of what feels right for you. And Easter just automatically brings me to my mother and all those wonderful, happy memories of my childhood. But then when I got older, Easter meant music, and I was a music director, and I just loved picking out all this music and rehearsing it and doing it. And yet I kind of grew out of that position also because God had other plans, and holding on to that, I wasn't able to have my full resurrection until I could let go of things that I no longer do or are not meant for me to do.
That's tough whenever you're identifying with that and that's a part of you, and to let that go whenever you feel like that's maybe something that defines who you are.
Right.
But is that really what defines who you are?
It defines who I was in those moments. It defines me as I grew and I learned and I expanded all the way through that occupation. And I take that love with me. Love does not change. It goes through every resurrection, every rebirth, and it never, ever goes away. And so that's what we get to take with us.
Is that love?
Absolutely. And here, Easter this year is very, very different for me.
Sorry, before we get I guess if love is what we take from us, then what dies? I guess the
old way of thinking. You're leaving behind your resurrection. Your death is actually a transformation, leaving behind that which is no longer yours to do or bear or see or whatever. The line in the sand is the rebirth and the expansion of the whole new beautiful lotus flower that you are, with new opportunities and new ways to grow forward. But I take the love of everything I have ever had, and I take that with me. You know, it's really just an example. Sorry. I got a phone call from a gentleman who was in the church with us when I was a little girl growing up. Dr. Jim Ragusa is his name. And his wife, Barbara, sat next to me in the church choir when I was a little girl, and I would imitate her. And that's basically how I learned how to sing. And of course, Barbara passed, which was very sad for me, a couple of years ago. But Jim invited me to sing for her memorial service, which I, of course, did, etc. and so on. And then he calls me 2 weeks ago and he says, I want you to know that I have just finished my book and you are in it. And I'm going to send you a copy as soon as I get it, because I want you to have it and read about it and read, and he gifted it to me. And I was so moved by that I touched somebody's life to a point that they would write about me so lovingly in a book that will last forever and ever.
It's huge.
That love is still going with me. I lost Barbara several years ago, and it was very hard, and it was very sad, really, because that generation is now gone, and I am now that generation. But that love keeps showing up.
And that love has just been reciprocated now. Maybe not in a book, but maybe in a podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He honored me as becoming the choir director while Barbara was still in the choir. So I was directing the person who helped me learn, and she and I would sing. Our number one duet was the Pie Jesu. We would do that at memorial services, but also at very important holidays, and we were very well known for that. And that imprints that love too. That love you feel when you're singing that song with somebody that you... There's just so much love in the world that allowing those memories to flow and know that you're going to be taking them with you regardless of where you go next, because it's going to pop up again. You're going to go, oh yeah, I remember that because I just felt so much love when, and you fill in the blank. That's what the resurrection really means for me. And Easter is kind of my childhood in the Easter basket and the candy. And, when I got older, it was spending time with my best friend who we did all of the holidays together. And, as you know, through other podcasts, I lost her in October, 5 months ago now. And I've got to do something different this year. And that's okay. I was invited to my godkids. The parents invited us to Easter dinner at their house. And, that's another resurrection for me. That was a painful one. But that love of her is still so strongly with me that nobody can take that away from me.
That's right.
And it'll never, ever go away. So,
yeah.
Tell me how, Easter's kind of new to you with the way that you grew up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Never grew up with Easter, but in the Jehovah's Witness tradition, Memorial was the one, I don't know if they would even call it a holiday, but like the one thing that was, there was an extra service for that.
Oh.
It was always on Nisan 14, which translates to Holy Thursday.
Okay.
Oh, it's when the moon was. It's full moon. It's always
Gotcha.
the full moon one here. Yeah, wait, that's bringing me to something different, but I'm not going to go that direction.
Okay.
For different episodes. So, what I always thought strange about that one, and this was probably the most well attended service as far as the memorial. I mean, I think a lot of people can resonate with, Jesus's last night type of thing.
Right.
But what I always found strange is that no one could participate with communion unless you were one of the chosen 144,000.
Oh,
and how would you know if you're that? Well, yeah, I guess you just self-identify as that. There's no sort of thing as that. My mom grew up with a person who identified as that, and anyway, I always thought it was strange that the rest of us couldn't partake of the grape juice in the bread, but that's what it was. So,
wow.
The way that I understand Easter is a lot newer, and
Sure.
I don't have the fond memories of like candy or baskets or anything like that. All I was taught was it was a pagan religion.
Oh,
okay.
gosh.
I guess I am going full circle here.
That's okay.
Because I mean, Easter from the goddess of Esther, for fertility.
Sure.
So, yeah. I was watching a YouTube short earlier that was saying, "Oh, what would Jesus think about Easter? Oh, we celebrate it from the goddess of fertility with bunnies and ducks," and he's like, "That's how you remember me." But just like Christmas or any of the other Christian holidays, and they were brought in from what we used to be pagan religions, and that's why I was smiling when I thought about the full moon. I was like, well, okay, you got to always have this on the full moon. What that must come from some sort of pagan
ritual somewhere.
And that word pagan to me has always had a fear-based connotation whenever it shouldn't be. It's just more of a earth-based type of thing, a natural type of thing, and it's been transformed into something that brings fear, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, a pagan connotation just is kind of the definition for me. I know where people are coming from. I know what they're speaking of. Mm-hmm. And, we could get really in depth with this by going back through the historical data and, really calling a thing with the Bible and so forth. But that is not my mission. That is not mine to do. Mine is to honor traditions that people love, and then use that which I have learned and share it for people to take or not take. Mm-hmm. It's really okay, because we're all on different journeys, and God loves each. You know what? God doesn't play favorites. There is no, I'm sorry.
And that's,
I shouldn't say there is no 144 special people. There's about 8 billion of us now. And, if God created each of us, I've always been taught that God just doesn't play favorites. And unfortunately, when we are squished into these boxes, at some point truth comes knocking at the door, and you start to historically go back in time and learn about what is the truth versus what has come down through the ethers as that's their truth, that's their truth, that's where our world is now. Mm-hmm. If we can all just understand God made us all, we're all different in each way, we're all on a different journey, and we can all love each other right where we're at, we wouldn't have this nonsense going on our planet. See, I can feel my blood pressure going up. We might need to change this subject.
Oh,
whew.
I love that you were saying that you are here to share this information and wisdom for those who are ready to receive. And that's where the element of free will comes about. It's not like you are forcing people who are not ready to receive it to receive it, because that wouldn't work. And I think Jesus was the master shower of this. That's why he spoke in so many parables, and the way he spoke, it had a certain veil upon it that would only resonate with those who were ready to receive the word, and
Yes.
Others who weren't ready, it just didn't make sense to them. So, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's not what it was. So,
yeah, well, I could go back and tell you what I'm studying right now, but it wouldn't make a difference, because what I want to talk about in this episode is how you can celebrate the resurrection for yourself, for new beginnings. Write down a list of what it is you feel no longer serves you, or you really don't want to do anymore, but you weren't sure how to go about changing or altering. And know that this Easter, your resurrection is coming. And you, with your list, like we do the burning bowl in unity for New Year's Eve, you have another opportunity to write down everything you want to not have anymore, ball it up, burn it. After it's written down and burnt, you can't pick that back up. It's done. Mm-hmm. You've released it. Now, take the step to the authentic you're meant to be. Just ask God to take your hand and lead you. That's how I get through life. Honestly.
Beautiful. That's a really practical step as far as releasing, is just writing it down.
And trusting. Trust is a very, very, very big part of moving forward to your truth. Mm-hmm. Trusting God. If you trust God, you're perfect. You're exactly where you need to be. Your glass is always half full, and anyone trying to pull you back or intimidate you in any way, shape, or form, this is what I would like for you to say. Thank you so much for sharing. It's nice to know where you are, but that is just not the truth of me. And I'm going to walk on my journey, and I bless you on yours.
The concept of God can be challenging because it has so many different connotations depending on how you grew up and how you understand what that is. Or one thing that's helped me personally is just thinking that God equals good. So if you just want to trust in good and you being good and shining your light, that kind of helps separate, even if there is no separation, honestly, but it may help separate some of the fear-based ideas of God, because sometimes that word can produce fear for some people.
Sure. Sure.
So yeah, God equals good. So trust in good and moving the next step to being even more part of that goodness.
Mm-hmm. For me, God and love are synonymous. If God is love and love is God, then we are all, as my favorite person always said, we're all divine sparks of the divine sparkler. That light being within.
Yeah.
And, regardless of who you are or where you are on your journey, let no one tell you how to love God. Let no one assert their power over the top of you to think or act a certain way. I ask you, I beg you to go through historical, factual things and make your own decisions. That's where I am. I'm not always right, and I might be right for a little while until I learn a little bit more. But that's why I say I don't know everything. I never will know everything, but I'm sure going to keep on seeking, and then I'm surely going to have my resurrections after resurrections after resurrections, so that I can keep expanding my soul into the truth that is for me in life now.
It'd be pretty boring if we knew everything already. It's like we crossed the finish line without ever taking the journey.
How true that is. I wish I could tell you how many times as a medium at Spirit Fest, people say, well, can you tell me when such and such is going to cross? I said, well, let's start with you. You lift up your arm, lift up your other arm. Can I see your legs, your forehead? Well, I can't find your expiration date, so I don't think I'm going to be able to find their expiration date either. That is a personal soul contract between you and God, nobody else. And if somebody wants to tell you when you're going to cross over, ooh, I hope you just took that with a big mouthful of salt and you go spit it out. Just my opinion.
Yes. I would imagine that sometimes people have been told by others, sometimes mediums, sometimes other people, certain things that are just not true. And they might gravitate toward that and think that that's the absolute truth as far as that.
Mm-hmm. And there might be alterations in your soul contract or blueprint or whatever that might be, because you have been introduced to an area of love that you've not experienced before, and you want to stay a little bit longer and experience that. You know, I learned, this is going to sound awful, but I learned what true love, unconditional love is from an old hound dog named Hope. Dog never had a day of love in her life. She was covered in cancerous bumps. She had spleen cancer, liver cancer, lung cancer, and bone cancer. So she was becoming very uncomfortable. Long story short, this is when I was doing dog rescue. I got to the above Gainesville, the animal control, and I was actually picking up a puppy from another transport. And I said, do you have any more of my breed? And they said, yeah, in the back, but she's, we're going to put her down. I said, well, wait a minute, let me go look. I went out there, and this is the most pathetically broken being I have ever seen in my life. I felt her. She wouldn't even look up at me. And I said, I'm taking her with me. Well, she's scheduled to be put down. I said, well, then don't charge me. So I tried to get her up, and she'd take a couple steps, and she'd plop down. She was so weak. And when she'd stand up, there was a circle of flea dirt around where she had just landed. The parasites had sucked her blood down so much. Her gums were totally white. Very long story short, I got her home. I bathed her. I had one thing going for me. She ain't nothing but a hound dog. And hound dogs love food. So I was giving her, I had to build her back up. And I kept giving her food, and she was getting stronger. And I took her to the vet. The vet said, Barbara, the best you're going to get out of her is probably 2 weeks, and that would be a miracle. Okay. Then Barbara's hospice is 2 weeks in action.
Yep.
Yay. After 4 weeks, I had my first miracle. She would actually look up at me and tell me, okay, human, you're okay. I guess I'll stay for a while. My 2-week dog who learned human love stayed 1 year, 6 months, and 8 days with all of that diseased body. That's your power of love, people.
That's the power of resurrection. From the lowest place, being brought up. Wow.
She was hopelessly incontinent. And I had so many throw rugs and towels, and every day was an adventure with her. And I loved it. I didn't mind it one bit, except that she had one little pesky friend named Petunia. And Toonie wanted to sit on the carpet with Hope while she leaked, so then I'd have to bathe both of them. But it was all in the love.
Yeah.
Who cares? They loved having my hands go over them and massage them. And it's the human touch is love.
That's right.
And I learned more from a dying hound dog than I ever learned in my whole life.
That's beautiful.
That's a resurrection story.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know this was a big part of what you were feeling today and in this season. It makes so much sense to share. And this will likely be the first one of season 2 that we're going to release. Out of order.
3? Oh, season 2 out of order. Ignore me. I don't know what I'm doing. But yes, thank you.
Does that mean there's going to be a season 3?
Well, if there isn't, I'd be awfully disappointed.
Okay.
If you don't want to have season 3 here, you just have to tell me.
I'm not going to disappoint you. We're going to have season 3.
Yeah.
It'll be coming soon. But first, season 2.
Yeah.
All right. We wish you all the best and so much love during this season of resurrection.
Yes.
Let's finish up with our prayer for protection.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
All right. We love you, and we'll see you for the next episode.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.